How's it going, YouTube? The last few days on the timeline have been pretty sour, if I'm being honest, because one after another, organizations are starting to leave the RLCS. Some temporary and some not. One in particular is actually ceasing operations altogether. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I was recently talked about here that Rule 1 has put out an official statement saying that they are ceasing operations. And I figured we'd actually break down what that means, what that all entails, and why it's actually such a huge hit. About a month or two ago, you've been seeing a little bit of a slow trickling of it, but the reality is Sunlesskhan has taken a pretty big step back from Rocket League. For those that haven't been able to see it at live events, Sunlesskhan has not really been involved in Rocket League at all. He just, I think after he put out that podcast where he talked about his mental health and everything else, it has really fallen on the lap and the shoulders of his wife, who is fantastic, who's been basically doing all the operational stuff for the team. And then on top of that, Incivik, who you guys know is kind of this Middle Eastern GOAT. He basically brought the Middle Eastern region into the RLCS. He ran tournaments. He's supported so many streamers, myself included, over the years. Like Incivik is a god, right? So you have a multitude of things between just not getting any return, the drama with one of their players being released due to some circumstances, and then not fielding a roster, a long off season, and everything else. You've got your co-owner who's taking a step back. There's a lot of factors as to why it makes sense, in my opinion, that Rule 1 is taking a step back. So they put out their official statement, if you guys haven't read it already, saying, hey, we'd like to announce that we're leaving Rocket League scene and that our owner and CEO and co-founder Incivik is retiring from competitive RL, which is a pretty big deal. Incivik is very heavily invested in the competitive Rocket League scene and has been for a long time. And for him to publicly admit, like, I am taking a step away from competitive Rocket League is pretty substantial. Rule 1 doesn't really have any other factors to them. I do know that they support an MMA team or something. Like, they do have a couple other things that they're involved in, but primarily as an esports side of things, it was a Rocket League or nothing. Longtime figure in the RL community, Incivik has been heavily involved in the competitive Rocket League scene, as they state. When he started Sandrock Gaming, he also ran a bunch of tournaments. He and Johnny Boy have put on a bunch of events together. Like, Incivik's done some pretty incredible things. We'd like to say thank you to Incivik for his tireless energy put into the MENA region and putting them on the map, and wish him the best in whatever he decides to pursue next. More information on why we decided to cease operations will come soon. So there will be a part 2 to this that I'll probably talk about in the future, and I'll try to provide some insight now about it all, but I've kind of alluded to it already. The reality is, right now, the offseason's in a pretty interesting spot. There's a lot of organizations that are leaving. They're not ceasing existence. There's a lot of uncertainty in Rocket League right now. I want to calm that a little bit, letting people know, yes, it's a 4-year deal with RLCS. Blast, while their first season has definitely had some hiccups in the long offseason and everything else, doesn't mean they can't make adjustments next year. Doesn't mean they can't reassess during the offseason. Doesn't mean, again, it's trial period. And we should all know that. And we should all kind of hold our breath a little bit about what the future entails. But the reality is, Rocket League itself, for a lot of creators, it's not got a whole lot to it. You either play high-level matches in ranked, or that's it. There's no new content coming out. There's no new reason to play a Rocket Pass. It's all same. So I think that, on top of everything else, you're talking financially to pick up a roster and stuff, especially after the detrimental things that happened. I understand for Rule 1 to say, you know what? I really don't feel like we should stick around. Is it really worth our time to invest time, effort, and a ton of money into a roster moving forward? I personally think Rule 1 could have done some things very differently that were better use of their money. I think, again, while yes, they did some really awesome behind the scenes footage and videos, I don't think they leaned into content as heavily as they could have to take advantage of the likeness and the namesake of the Rawasses and Clears and stuff like that as well. There is a common sentiment, in my opinion, towards a lot of these organizations where, yes, they're spending a lot of money on rosters, but they're not properly staffing or putting the time and effort into things that will make them sustainable. Merch alone from Rule 1 was a flash in a pan. It didn't, you have people like Sunless that could really leverage and push forward the Rule 1 name. I don't think they ever really fully utilized that, because Sunless was very, and most likely, busy focusing on his own channel to provide funding for the team. So selfishly, I'm very sad to see them go. I think they were a very easy team to root for, obviously, with both Sunless and Incivik being incredible people who genuinely cared, and the staff that they hired between Kiddish and everybody else are the ones that are being impacted by it too. You know, all these people are going to go have to look for a new job, a new org, a new something in a very oversaturated market that a lot of people are dealing with the realities of. So somber news, guys. It sucks to see Rule 1 take a step away and say goodbye. And I don't think they're going to be the only one. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if this is news to you, first time you're hearing this or not. But yeah, pretty sad stuff for Rule 1. We'll keep you guys up to date in a follow-up when they talk about more details about why they are ceasing operations more specifically. I can assume for a lot of reasons, financially and otherwise, but it'll be interesting to hear from them directly. But you feel for the guys. It sucks. It sucks to lose a good one.